إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله فقال الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وقال الله تعالى يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم ما بعد. We thank Allah Azza wa Jal, we praise Him, we glorify Him for allowing us to witness a monumental event within our lifetimes, the liberation and peace and security that has descended upon Syria and her people. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to allow them to be in this state for 100 years and more, and for them to be in security and peace the same way we enjoy it. And also we have the great news of the ceasefire in Palestine. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring resolution to that peace, to that place, to her people, and grant them security, free from harm and free from any oppression. There are a few times we as an ummah get to celebrate. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us more of these opportunities. And we also ask Allah Azza wa Jal to allow us witness one more monumental event, the liberation of the Holy Land completely and in the hands of Muslims. Syria and her people have been historically significant. This is not the first time that we are seeing liberation of certain portions or lands of Syria, or Sham rather, I should say Levant. Historically speaking, as all of you know, the Crusades, when they were first launched, they were directed at the oppression and the taking over of Al-Quds, or Jerusalem, from the hands of the Muslims. Like today in our times, there were certain monumental people, certain people whom Allah has blessed with foresight, who wanted to see the same thing that we desire to see today. Liberation of most Muslim lands and for them to be in the hands of Muslims. One such individual, his name is Nuruddin al-Zinki, Allah yarhamhu. His father, Imaduddin al-Zinki, was a ruler in Halab, or Aleppo at that time, and he was the first person who professed the idea for the Muslims and small principalities around those lands to get together and come under one leadership for the betterment of the Muslim society as a whole. He did not live to see it, but his son, Nuruddin al-Zinki, Allah yarhamhu, Allah blessed him with that. He was able to unite the Muslim lands, and he remained an authority in power for 28 years. Do you know that it was Nuruddin al-Zinki who first inspired the Muslims at a time when Muslims never thought it would be possible, that Jerusalem should be in the hands of Muslims at all time. And he united a very strong Muslim front to move forward with this idea. Qadarullah ma sha'a fa'al, he did not get to witness this either. And we all know it was his general and his student, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, whom Allah blessed with this ni'mah, him and his armies and his people, to be able to liberate Al-Quds. But we are not to talk about any of these individuals or those times. What we are talking about today is the life of one noble individual who was an advisor in the court of Nuruddin al-Zinki. Her name is Fatima al-Samarqandiyya. And today we will explore her life and certain beneficial lessons that we can derive from her life. So who's this lady Fatima? Fatima was born to Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Ahmad al-Samarqandi, who used to live in a small town in Kasan in modern day Samarkand. And historically speaking today, I think Kasan would be geographically in Uzbekistan. Imam Muhammad ibn Ahmad was a man of great piety and knowledge. He was the mufti as well as the great alim of his time and his location. People all around the smaller towns and further away would come learn from him. He was known for his zuhud, as well as iman, his taqwa. He was known for his wa'ad. He was able to give very strong reminders to people. It's no surprise that students from around the locations would want to come and learn from him. In fact, he authored a very famous book. It's called Tuhfatul Fuqaha. That book was monumental because it was something which was loved and admired by people while the Imam was alive. This is something that many people do not realize. Allah may bless you with the capacity to author a great text, and no one will value it in your time. Perhaps after you die, a few decades pass and people will see its value. Or if you like al-Bukhari, you write something, everyone wants to read it while you're alive. But Imam Muhammad, in this regard, he was blessed with that. He wrote a small text, and it was so valuable, people around the town and around the locations would come and want to learn from him. Allah blessed him with a daughter, and he named her Fatima, just like the daughter of Ar-Rasul who was called Fatima bint Muhammad. So he named his daughter Fatima as well. When this child was young, the great and noble Imam realized something. Allah has blessed his daughter with a fantastic mind. She has the capacity to memorize and to comprehend. Most people who have a great mind, they have either or. Either they're good at memorizing, but they can retain information but not analyze it. Or the other way, they can analyze information easily, but they cannot retain it. Very few people Allah blesses with both, like this lady he did. And she was very smart very early on. So she started learning the deen from her father, first and foremost, and she memorized the Quran very early on in her life, and then started to memorize ahadith. And she learned fiqh and usul and tariq and lugha from her father and from the local scholars around the town in Kasan. But her father was her main teacher. As she grew up, it became apparent to everybody. She has one more blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She was incredibly beautiful. And while she's still a teenager, naturally, because she's from a fantastic family, learned, smart, and beautiful, talented, she started getting proposals very early on in her life. From whom? Kings, rulers, generals, businessmen. And her father said no to everybody. Except when one of his students, his name is Al-Imam Abu Bakr Alauddin Al-Kasani, when he proposed for her hand in marriage, the father said yes. Here's a lesson for my sisters. Pay attention. When the time of the question of her mahar came, the lady demanded something unique from her would-be husband. She said, I want you to write a commentary on my father's book. Her father's book, Tuhfatul Fuqaha, I want you to write a commentary on that. She's very smart. Think about this. As I said before, if you write a book, there's a chance that it may become popular. Very likely, even if it's a great book, it will receive popularity very likely after you pass away. Books have lifespans, just like their authors do. They may have a lifespan which is a few decades long, and it remains popular and in circulation for a few decades, and then it expires. Or it may last a few centuries. But eventually, it will lose popularity and admiration from people. She understood that. She wanted her father's academic legacy to endure. That's why she demanded from her husband, as mahar, write a commentary on my father's book. You have to understand why she did that. If someone devotes time and attention to what you have done, this will give others the idea this is valuable. That's why she did that. Look at the qadr of Allah Azza wa Jal. Her father's book actually did not survive, but her husband's book, Al-Bada'i wa Sana'i fi Tartib al-Shar'i, till this day is in our hands. 9 centuries have passed. Her father's book and his text survives in her husband's book, which is in our hand today. In fact, if you want to go high up in the sciences of ifta, if you want to become mufti in the Hanafi madhab, there is no possibility except that you study her husband's book today. This is from her legacy. This is from her father's legacy, and of course, her husband's legacy. When the two of them got married, the father, before they were married together, he used to be a great mufti. So a person will ask a question, and the father will answer. He has the answer, and he will sign. Muhammad ibn Ahmad al-Samarqandi. When she became a teenager, very early on in her life, she started correcting her father if he made a mistake here and there. And her father made few mistakes. But this makes you understand how smart she was, that she was able to correct her father. And with her father, she started giving fatwa together. So now a questioner comes, he asks a question, the father writes a fatwa. Here's the answer, he will sign Muhammad ibn Ahmad al-Samarqandi, and then she will sign Fatima Samarqandiya. The father, daughter signing fatwa together, or giving fatwa together. When Abu Bakr al-Kasani joined this team, the three will give fatwa together. Muhammad ibn Ahmad Samarqandi, Fatima Samarqandiya, Abu Bakr al-Kasani. As time passed, naturally, Al-Imam Muhammad fell sick and died, Allah yarhamhu. But the husband and wife continued to give fatwa. To the extent, look at this husband, out of respect and admiration for his wife, he never put his name on top. Every single time they will sign a fatwa together, Fatima Samarqandiya, Muhammad ibn Ahmad Samarqandi, underneath her name. Because he realized his wife has tremendous potential and she's knowledgeable, and he respected that in her. The husband and wife had fantastic relationship. Together, they really clicked, just like she clicked with her father. She had excellent relationships with the people in her life. Abu Bakr al-Kasani and Fatima Samarqandiya, I hate to use this term, are a perfect example of what we call today the power couple. And why would we say that? Is because very quickly their renown and their reputation spread all the way to Halab, where the king lives. And he heard about these two people. And they're so engaged in society, and how much they're in the khidmah of the people. And they're good at giving fatwa. And they're smart, both of them. So he invited the husband and wife to come to the court and become advisors. So the husband and wife, together, they went and became advisors to Nuruddin al-Zinki. The husband became more deeply involved with affairs of siyasa, or politics, especially advising king in administrative affairs of the state. As for the wife, Fatima Samarqandiya, she became more deeply involved in spreading knowledge. So what did she do? When Allah blessed her with power and wealth from the king, she started making sure that all the schools and madaris in Halab are well kept. They are well stocked with books, and they are well provided with teachers. Once she took up those madaris, she started sending out teachers and books to locations around. And she especially made attention to schools that were teaching people to become muftis, because muftis are deeply engaged in society. They need to solve societal problems. So like her, she made sure that people like that become more and more widespread in society. As time passed, the elders in the community will tell you, when it comes to time to retire, everyone wants to retire one place, the place where they're born. Especially if you do not have any more familial responsibilities. It's no surprise that Al-Imam Abu Bakr al-Kasani and his wife, Fatima Samarqandiya, they also had the same desire. As time passed, they became old. They want to retire in their town of Kasan. The king, when he heard this plan, he got cold feet. He cannot afford to lose these two people. They are so good at what they do. They're excellent advisors. The husband is great when it comes to running and helping with the affairs of the state. And the wife, she takes care of many issues in society, and she solves them. And both of them are excellent muftis as well. So what he did, he requested, while Abu Bakr was in the court, he sent a messenger to the house where Fatima Samarqandiya is. The messenger goes over and knocks on the door. She says, "Who is it?" He says, "I'm the messenger from the king." He says, "What's your message?" He says, "The king is requesting your presence at the palace." So she says something very interesting message. He says, "Tell the king he's lost his manners. He's sending a messenger to my house while my husband is with him." So the messenger went back. He told the king the lady is rather upset. So the king sent Alauddin, Abu Bakr al-Kasani, back with the messenger to the house. And Abu Bakr and Fatima had a good chat, and they eventually decided, despite the fact that they have served the Ummah for decades now, that they will stay in Halab. And they stayed over there, and they passed over there. When it comes to their passing, it's very interesting. Today in our times, we all have our dates of birth on every identification documentation we have, whether it's your passport or your driver's license. Your date of birth is always there. In the olden days, there was no need for that. Date of birth was not important. However, the date of death for people was well known, because you may not be famous when you're born, but if you die, very likely at that time you're famous. People around will miss you. So they write down when is your date of birth, or rather your date of death. As I said before, we do not exactly know when she was born, but it's very interesting, we do not exactly know when she died either. So if you were to ask me how old was she when she died, I have no idea. She might have been 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, I have frankly speaking, no idea. We do know, however, that her husband, he died in the year 587 Hijri, and he died a few months before her passing. We also know that she died on a Thursday evening. Why? Because every Thursday evening he would go and visit her grave, and he will cry, because he used to miss her so much. May Allah have mercy on Imam Muhammad bin Ahmad al-Samarqandi, his son-in-law, Abu Bakr al-Kasani, and of course, the hero for today's story, Fatima Samarqandiya. أقول قولي هذا لأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. There are so many lessons that we can derive from the life of Fatima and of course from her father and husband. And we'll touch only upon a few of them. The first lesson obviously is for the fathers and mothers here. Understand this. If Allah has blessed your child with a talent, a specialty, something they're so good at, cultivate it for them. Help them with that. Maybe your daughter is great at drawing. Maybe your son loves and plays soccer very well. Why not invest time and effort in that? It really boggles my mind when I see a family which is well-to-do is unwilling to pay $200 for a talent that his son has. He wants to go play basketball. The father says, no, it's a waste of time and money. SubhanAllah. If Allah has blessed your child with a talent, whatever it is, as long as it's not something evil, cultivate it for them. Do you know Fatima al-Samarqandi, not aside from the fact that she was beautiful, she had excellent handwriting. Go on the internet after this khutbah and look up Fatima al-Samarqandi handwriting, the examples till this day of her handwriting that survived. She was an excellent calligrapher. Her father cultivated her talent. More than calligraphy was her mind. So he invested time and effort making sure his daughter becomes good at this. The second lesson, if you want your family to succeed in life, you need to spend time with them. It goes both ways. The elders need to make time for the youngsters, and the youngsters may need to make time for the elder, like the father and daughter did. They were so good with each other all the time. Their father was her main teacher. The daughter, her best teacher, her best instructor is her father. And they were so close to each other. The third lesson, brothers and sisters, understand this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called children in the Quran as a gift. Hiba. This is exactly the word he's using. Lillahi mulku samawati wal ard. Yakhluqu ma yasha. Yahabu liman yasha'u inathan. Wa yahabu liman yasha'u dhukur. To Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. He creates what He wills. To some He has gifted daughters, and to others He has gifted sons. The scholars commented on this ayah. They said the gift of daughter, according to this ayah, is more noble than the gift of sons. And the reason is because the time and effort that goes for you to invest in your daughter is more. Historically speaking, not just the Muslim Ummah, people in general have wanted sons. There's a reason for that. If you have a lot of sons behind you, you have political and economic might behind you. That's what having sons means. Therefore, people tend to ignore the blessing of having daughters. This ayah corrects that mentality. In fact, Rasul ﷺ famously said, I guarantee if a person is blessed with 3 daughters and he takes care of them, is patient with them, helps them grow up, teaches them, and makes sure they're married off correctly, Allah will bring those daughters as a shield for him on the Day of Judgment. When the Sahaba asked, Ya Rasulullah, what if he had only 2 daughters? The Prophet ﷺ said, even if he had 2 daughters. And what the Sahabi said, if we had asked if he had 1 daughter, the Prophet ﷺ said, even if he had 1. So the gift of having daughters is a real ni'mah that Allah has blessed this ummah with. In fact, Imam Ahmad, whenever one of his sons will be gifted a daughter, and he will come inform his father, oh Allah has blessed me with a daughter, he will say, Al-Anbiya were the fathers of daughter. It's a very profound statement. The prophets are those whom Allah elevated above us. He gave them distinction above us. They are people who are chosen above us. One of the ways they have been chosen above us is they have been blessed with daughters. Sons, of course, but also daughters. That's what Imam Ahmad is saying here. Number 4, very important point. Go to look up the leadership of any major company, any political party. You'll find today in our times, women in the highest positions of leadership, even if they don't deserve it. Why? Because in our times, we are going through some kind of ridiculous political correction in which we need to insert a female in every leadership role. Understand this. We as an ummah do not think like that. We will put people in authority, those who deserve it, irrespective of their gender. We will not put a lady over there just because she is a lady. Look at Fatima al-Samarqandi. The reason we're talking about her is because she is a leader of the Muslim Ummah. Not because she's a lady, but because she's qualified to be. This is something that Nuruddin Zinki realized when he invited her to the court. Not because he's Abu Bakr's wife, but because she actually is talented herself. This is how we should be thinking as Muslims. We only put women in a position of authority if they deserve it. We're not going to do any political correction and then be unjust to the men. How ridiculous just to put a lady in a position of authority just because she's a lady while we ignore someone who's more qualified than her because he's a man. This is now how we work. This is how non-Muslims think. We Muslims, we always find people who are qualified. If a lady is qualified, we'll put her there, for sure. Number 6, knowledge is for everyone, not just the women, not just the men, but women. Everyone should be given equal access to knowledge. As for how they utilize the knowledge, that is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 7, very important lesson, especially for the sisters. As a lady becomes mature, as a lady becomes knowledgeable, you'll see this more and more. She will have more haya, not less haya. This lady, even though she is an advisor to the king, she does not want to expose herself even to the king's messenger. Because Allah has blessed her with more haya. As knowledgeable person, as experienced she is, Allah blessed her with more haya. Haya is part of iman. Not just for the women, but also for the men. Final lesson, and this will end tonight, or today. The final lesson is from Fatima al-Samarqandi herself. She said, fathers, invest in your daughters. And with this, we ask Allah to grant us children, daughters and sons who are qurrata ayun for us, as well as leaders of this ummah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with people like Muhammad, as well as his daughter Fatima and her husband Abu Bakr, who take care of the ummah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those people who are invested in our communities. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع مجيب الدعوات سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وقيم الصلاة. Take up spots in the rows.